I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago.
Hey y'all, welcome to this chapter, and welcome to another chapter of Adventura the Bus. She's beginning to take shape, chapter 26. Hey, look at this. She's starting to take some shape, and look at that. Isn't that shelf really cool looking? It's not 100% complete because I would like to finish off the walls in the back there and face those off, but other than that, these shelves are mostly complete. The only thing left over to do is to find some doors and put them on the front, or make them, one or the other. I haven't decided whether I'm going to make the doors or find some old cabinet doors and make them work. Biggest thing I have to do is make some furniture, or make some measurements and find out how to make that work. So anyhow, it's looking good, and I invite you to go on a journey yourself and find the beauty within you, because that's what I'm doing with Adventura. I'm finding the beauty that she's held within her. She's had a rough go in her first parts of her life, but now she's beginning to take shape. And I'm really, really proud of how far I've come with her. And this cab area is really beginning to start to look really awesome and special. And I invite you to come along this journey with me. And you'll see how I built out this shelf and the front shelf, how I've finished making the front shelves. And I actually faced out this shelf on this episode. But the next episodes, we'll be working on the ceiling. And we'll be working on the front cabinet and facing that out. So I invite you to come along the journey as she begins to take shape. Thank you for joining my channel, and I appreciate y'all, and enjoy the episode. Okay, so part of being able to take shape means that sometimes we have to do one or two projects before we can get another one done. So what we're doing here is we're wiring in some map lights, and I have WAGO, W-A-G-O connectors here. These are two connectors, and I'm doing just two wires, so I only need two connectors. Red with red, black with black. Red is positive, black is negative or ground. And so we only had to have two wires here to wire in these lights. And my recommendation with these connectors, and I've seen other van lifers recommend, you use these connectors. They have like little clips on them. You put the wires together, clip them down, and then what you want to do is you want to take some electrical tape and put them over the connectors after you've connected them. Otherwise, there's a risk that they can lose their connection because they pop open. So if you just take a little bit of time, put a little bit of electrical tape over those connectors, they'll stay sealed and shut, and they make a great connection. I'm going to go over and make the wire connection and the main connection to the bus lights that need to be connected, the power source that I found to hook them to, and then you're going to see them where I'll do a test on them to make sure they're functioning and I have my wiring correct. Then once that's finished, I'll wire in the second light, test both lights, and then I will go into mounting them. So what you see me doing here, like I said, is using those little WAGO connections to connect them to the power source that I have over there on the side where I've moved the electrical panel to. And then once that's done, I can go ahead and test out these lamps. This is part of the process of I have to do one thing to get two or three things done. So I've gone and done the soundproofing, I've done the insulation. Now I'm wiring these lights so that I can go ahead and build the shelves in. I have to wire the lights in first because the wire for the lights goes underneath the shelves. So I had to do all that in kind of an order. And that's kind of a place I've been fighting. And then I tested the lights out. They're working. I'm doing a little celebrating. And then we're moving on to mounting them. And and there's where I told you I wrapped them in a little bit of electrical tape. And then I also make sure I label the wires. That little machine there is for me to make a label for the wires saying this is for map lights and or dome lights or whatever you want to call them. And I make sure all my connections are tight and taped up, clean up my mess, and then we'll move into actually mounting the lights. So this area here is the dashboard section. You'll see me pull down the plastic piece in a little bit to mount those. This has been a beautiful process too, because I took all those plastic pieces out and repainted them. I used all-in-one paint, and I'm very pleased with that paint. This paint is good paint. It doesn't require a lot of paint to cover something, and if you use the degreaser that they have and you paint the paint on, you take the time to do the prep for the surfaces, this paint withholds a lot of beating. And I really like this paint. It's all-in-one paint. It's a paint and primer in one, so it doesn't take too many coats to get it done. And once you get it on, it's super easy to paint with, covers really good, and looks really great. I have Mediterranean blue, which is the darker color blue, and then I have Irish Garden. And I like their paints a lot. I wish that they had a few more colors available, because I have some color tones that I'd like to use in my bus, but their paints don't quite match what I'm wanting to go for. And I'm still in a decision phase right now of whether or not I want to paint the cabinets or leave them wood. So I'm trying to make that decision right now, and I don't know that I've come to that conclusion just yet. And I am getting to the point that I have to make that decision soon. And so what you see me here is working with the lights, and I'm actually working to get them mounted. I did have a little bit of struggle to get them up at first, but then I figured out what I needed to do. I think I was having some struggles getting the connections to quite hold right and work properly. And I think I dropped one of my screws, so that's what I was trying to dig for there. And I'm finishing that up, and I'll test it and make sure it works, and then I'll mount the second one. And so that's what we're going to do now. And so I'm very pleased with the way the whole cab looks. I've gotten all those plastic pieces painted, and I've put them in place, and it's holding up quite nicely. I might need to touch it up in a few spots, but I'm very pleased with this paint, and I would highly recommend it. I will put it in the descriptions. Anything that I recommend on this episode, I will put in the descriptions. I will say that I do not have any sponsors, and I don't ask people to sponsor me right now. And any products that I talk about or I endorse, it's because I've gotten them, they work, and I really like them. The fans I got for the top of the bus are probably my favorite product that I've bought so far, and they work excellent. And they work just like the Max Air fans. So now I'm moving into the actual build part, where I've gotten the wiring done. I'm finishing up the insulation here, so you can see a little bit of the process of installing the insulation. I cut out the foam pieces to fit in place. Then I took the metal duct tape and sealed it like I did with all the other parts of the bus that I put insulation in. So I have a really good seal, and I do actually put a vapor barrier in over the ceiling area. So I've worked hard to do it exactly as I should, and hopefully it will pay off. I don't know that I've gotten everything done to perfection, but I have tried to do everything I can with excellence, a level of excellence. So I'm going to finish up this taping here in a few minutes, and then I'll move on to actually stick building the shelves in here. So this metal duct tape has worked really well for this purpose, and it helps me seal everything in nicely. I can say that I've seen some considerable difference in the temperature in the cab. I can't say I've seen a lot of difference, but if nothing else, it's helped soundproof it quite a bit. So it's just doing everything a little bit at a time and doing one process to get to the next. And here's where I actually begin to start stick building out this shelf. I found the stick building worked really good because I could custom fit it all to the little weird angles and such in this front section, and I got to fit it to the optimum way that I could in order to be able to utilize every single square inch of space, because when you're in a bus, the more storage you can get in it, the better. And if you can use all the space optimally that you can, it's going to gain you more in the long run. So that's what I'm doing here. And so in this section here, I actually built out 2 sections to go in that front part. and I kind of met them in the middle and had a support in the middle so that I could match the curve of the bus. If I just put it straight across, it wasn't going to hug that curve of the bus. So there I'm working on the center support where the two sections are going to meet up, and that allowed me to follow the curve of the bus as best as possible and to maximize my space usage. And so that worked out really good. I used a Craig jig to connect all these 1x2s together, and that was also a good method to do that. I used all the Craig jig screws, and it was really a good process to do it. And like I said, I was able to custom fit it to the space and get the optimum use of my space that I could do. And it's good to be able to see this thing coming into shape and getting done. I've been able to work on the cabinet over the top of the driver's side and this front cabinet and get them both done. I have them done to the point that they're faced out, and I'm ready to start building doors for them. I don't know if I'm going to build doors or find doors that fit, but I'm going to make that decision. I do have an idea of how I want the doors to look, and I'm kind of excited about what that looks like. But we'll see what ends up happening. You know, I have ideas in my head, and I want to make that happen, but I want to also find the best economical option that I can use, and then I want to utilize that. I have this real cool design that I want to use where I don't have wood on the middle of the doors, but I'm going to have either metal or cane on the front of the doors, and it's going to be a black color on the middle, and it really looks good. I have some ideas for that, and I also have some cool ideas for the ceiling. I'm doing like a slat ceiling with a black background that's going to have some gaps in between, so it's going to look really cool and really clean, and that's what I'm going for. The thing that's really nice is she's really beginning to shape up and look more like a home than a bus, and that is the whole idea, is I'm going to build her in a way that she will look like a home and not just a bus, and it'll be custom fit to me. What I'm doing there is custom building a little template there to cut out a piece, and that's what I had to do in a lot of the pieces, as I cut a little template for it, and then I'd go cut the piece, and I put the piece in place. So there's that. And this method worked really good for me. I found building my little templates and making sure they fit, and then go cut the piece. You saw I just slapped that piece right up there. It went from template to piece of wood in the place. And I built in a little, there's like a metal piece in the front there, but with a big opening at the top. There you see it there. And what I did is I built in a whole cabinet area there so that I can have like taller things in that section. So say maybe laundry detergent or whatnot, just paper towels, things that I need to store in a space that needs to be tall. That's where that section is going to be. And I like it for like things that have liquid in them, because it has a metal thing that holds it in place so that it can't slosh around, kind of thing. And I like that shelf for that reason. So here I'm working on the center shelf for the section over here where the mini split used to be hung, and I've gained all this storage space because I took that mini split out. The mini split was 220 volts, and that's great if you want to have super high power stuff, but I don't want 220 volts in my bus. I want 110, and I'd much rather deal with that and not deal with the 220. It's just way overkill in my opinion. And if I can get away with not having 220 in my bus, I really want to do that. It's just not my comfort zone to have 220 in my bus. But I do have 110. I do plan to have 110. I'm going to have shore power. And I will put a mini split in, and I have a space picked out for that. But I don't want it in the front of the bus. It was a lot of unnecessary wiring, a lot of unnecessary tubing, and it was a lot of unnecessary weight. So I've moved, and it was taking away from a space that I could use for storage. So we've gone from having a mini split there, moving it away, getting rid of all the excess, and then bringing in this stuff and minimizing what is there, or maximizing the space and minimizing the look for things and making it look more like a home and a space. And like I said, over the next couple of weeks, you're going to be able to see that happen, because as you see these shelves get complete, as you see me work on the spaces in the front of the bus here, you're going to see me adding more and more components that make it look a little more like a home. And that's what I mean by she's beginning to shape up. And this is the finishing up of the shelf. I think we'll get another angle of this in a few minutes so you can see it up close. But I did do the Craig jig. And you have to excuse me, I'm drinking some water. And I was able to build this all out with the Craig jig. And this is the other view. I was actually trimming the front part of the shelf here so that it would match up with the metal in the front, and getting it nice and flat and even. I'm using my oscillating tool, which is very good for trimming pieces like this, and getting it cut down to match up the actual piece. I was brave to put things on that shelf before I had a center support in, because that wood was not super strong. So there was that. But this process really became quite... Once I got into the process of it, it came together quite well. And when you see me bend over like that, I'm actually drilling holes for the Craig jig, doing pocket holes. And then I mount it with the Craig jig pocket holes. And it all comes together quite nicely. And then I'll put a center support in that one as well. And that's where we actually mount it. And then we've got a shelf. And then the next section we're going to move into here shortly is we're going to start facing the cabinet over the driver's section. And you see this small cubby right behind... I don't know that you're going to see it now, but there was a small cubby area behind the driver's seat, and I'm thinking that where the tripod is there, that's where I'm thinking about putting my toilet. But I want to have it kind of in a fashion of a jumper seat, so that you can use it for a toilet, but also have it as a jumper seat where there's going to be a seat belt for a passenger if I need to. And it's kind of the right size space just for that, and I kind of like that it's not in the main cabin area where I'm going to have the house area set up, and it will allow me some space where there's it's separate from the main space, so if it does smell a little, it's not going to affect me, because it'll be behind an insulated wall, and it'll have an area where it can be ventilated. It is a vented... the guy who sold me the bus gave me the parts for the toilet, and it is a composting urine diverter toilet with a vent, but I am definitely going to look and it's a build your own kind of one, so I'm going to see how that comes together. That's going to be one of the projects coming up soon, is we're going to build a toilet. How fun is that? But it's cool that I have that parts and pieces to do that, and I'm looking forward to that all coming together. And here I'm doing the facing for this cabinet. What I'm doing is building in the support for it, and I was leveling out that cabinet because there was like an angular piece there, so I custom built a piece to be able to flatten that section out and finish off the bottom edge of the cabinet there. And then I'm going to put some side supports up to be able to have places to nail my facing to. So, you know, you got to do a little background work before you do the foreground work. And I know Chuck Cassidy would probably say to me, oh, you're going to have so much thermal bridging. Well, you know what? It's a camper. It's a camper. I'm going to do the best I can. And I don't expect it to be a house and be fully insulated like a house. And it's great that other people do expect that, and good for them, but this is I don't have high expectations for this to be super warm all the time or super cold all the time. I know it's a camper and I expect it. It's better than a tent, I'll say that. Because in the past, when I went tent camping, it always rained. And I don't want to be in a tent camper because I don't want to camp in the tent because it rains a lot and it's no fun to be in a tent when it's raining. The bus, because I've fixed all the leaks in her, it's good to be in her when it's raining. And it doesn't hurt to be in her when it's raining. And I will have things within the bus that I can do even if it's raining. I can read a book. I can do some things on my computer. I can make videos for you guys. And I can tell the stories of my travels and things like that. But a tent, you can't do all that in there. So this is going to be more like a home, but not a home. And it's not going to have all the amenities of a home. I mean, it'll have a lot, but it's not going to be perfect. And I don't expect it to be perfect. There's a certain a level of rusticness that you have with a camper. She's going to look good, and she's going to look like more than just a bus, but she's still going to be a camper, so I don't expect it to be perfect. So we're almost finished up here with this shelf, and you're going to see it start taking shape. I did try to cut out a template for it, and I ended up deciding to just do it in 4 pieces instead of cutting a template. The template thing did not work out well, and it did not look good, and so I chose to just cut out the 4 separate pieces and then piece this together, and it came together quite nicely, and it looks nice. So you can see me putting in those last couple pieces there. I'm measuring them, cutting them, and then coming back and mounting them. So there it goes, and we're almost done. Okay, so hey y'all, thank you for coming and joining me on this chapter of Adventura the Bus. Thank you for sticking all the way through to the end, and I appreciate each and every one of you. We've got good things coming in the future here. We have a lot that has been getting done in the front part of the bus, and soon we're going to be moving on to the back part of the bus. I'm doing a lot of thoughts and contemplation about what this back section is going to look like. And today's kind of one of those days. I am not feeling 100% today, so I'm taking a rest day. But in doing my rest day, I'm editing the videos for this next chapter of the bus. So I invite you to continue to come along the journey with me and to see how she turns out in the end. I'm really super happy with all the progress I've been making. I'm looking forward to making some new progress soon. We got solar systems and sinks and plumbing and wiring and all kinds of fun things in the future. I'm really beginning to dream more about what this is going to look like. So I invite you to come along the journey and help me find the beauty within. And thank you for joining me. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this channel with someone who might be able to benefit from it. Thank you all for taking time to stop by. Don't forget to subscribe and share. Y'all come back now.
Some things are not the same.